Good morning, everyone. I'm Laureen DuBuono, Managing Partner at FLG Partners, the leading interim CFO and board advisory firm in the US. We serve clients globally. Welcome to our 12th edition of CFO Insights. Today, we are happy to have with us our FLG partner, who is also our administrative partner and CFO, Heather Ogan. She will discuss lessons learned by a CFO who is passionate about business transformation. Before we begin, let me tell you a little bit about Heather and her background. She joined us in January 2022 with over 20 years of experience leading high-performance teams in both public and private companies in CPG, OTA, technology, and logistics. She has also been a consulting financial executive at StubHub, Zum Services, Kutera, which is a public company. Prior to Heather's consulting roles, she was a VP Controller at Hotel Tonight and VP of Finance and Chief Compliance Officer at Circa of America, a CPG company, and Senior Director and Assistant Controller at Rodan and Fields, also a CPG company. I have had the pleasure of working with Heather at several operating companies, including Rodan and Fields and Hotel Tonight, the latter of which was acquired by Airbnb in 2019. So I feel confident that I can speak to Heather's exceptionalism. At FLG, Heather not only works as the firm's administrative partner, but she also takes on interim CFO assignments with operating companies. So welcome, Heather, and let's begin our conversation.
Thank you, Lorraine.
You're welcome. Prior to joining FLG, I know, Heather, that you spent the last 20 plus years of your career working for companies in many different sectors, both private and public. So give us a snapshot of a few of the key roles that you have had during your career, and tell us a little bit about what you believe you accomplished in those roles.
I'd be happy to. Let me begin by telling you why I've spent my career spanning various sectors rather than staying in one specific area, as I know many CFOs do. I first developed my passion for business transformation when I was in public accounting. After working in private industry for several years, I signed on with a public accounting firm in Charlottesville, Virginia. And that time in public accounting really provided me with exposure to multiple business sectors, as well as a solid foundation in financial principles and attention to detail, both of which were instrumental as I transitioned into leading the finance and accounting functions at companies like Sendmail, which is in email software, and Naturunner, which is in the clean energy sector. My tenure at Rodan and Fields was a period of tremendous growth, as you know, both for the company, which saw revenue skyrocket from 300 million to 1.2 billion, and for myself professionally. My role there in overseeing the accounting operations, integrating new financial systems, and establishing an indirect procurement function was pivotal in supporting the exponential growth of that company. And moving forward, my role as VP of Finance and Administration and Chief Compliance Officer at Circa of America really honed my abilities in financial oversight, HR, and regulatory compliance. At Hotel Tonight, as VP Finance and Controller, I further refined my skills in enhancing internal controls, and I led significant risk management initiatives. My experience contributing to the successful acquisition and integration of Hotel Tonight by Airbnb in 2019 was particularly transformative. I played a critical role in due diligence and was instrumental in the smooth transition of the finance and trust and safety teams into Airbnb's framework. So consulting across diverse sectors from CPG and OTA to technology and logistics, and working with high-growth companies, including StubHub, Next Trucking, Zum Services, and Kutera, this expanded my expertise and my adaptability. Each role has built upon the last, culminating in a broad spectrum of industry knowledge and a comprehensive skill set that's positioned me uniquely for the CFO role and for my role as CFO and Administrative Partner at FLG. I bring a wealth of experience, a proven track record of strategic financial management, and a keen ability to support and steer high-growth companies through both challenges and opportunities.
You know, it's interesting because, as you said, CFOs can be different things or many things. And being an athlete type like you are, where you can work in multiple sectors is really a gift and a talent. And I think that that's terrific. It will help you at FLG when you go within operating companies as their CFO very, very well. So terrific. So as you mentioned, Heather, you're passionate about business transformation. So tell us a little bit about this work and how it's framed your perspective as a CFO.
As a CFO, my role is to be a cornerstone for strategic decision-making within the company. So it's about distilling complex information from various sources and analyzing it with a fine-tooth comb, and then using it to inform the company's strategic direction. This data-driven approach enables us to pivot when necessary and optimize our operations and ensure that we're always moving towards our long-term goals of enhancing our overall business value proposition. Better insights, including understanding the market trends, evaluating competitive dynamics, and identifying growth opportunities, drives better strategy for a business, giving clearer focus on the future and building a roadmap to get there. So my strategy input guides the company's trajectory, ensuring that we're not just reacting to industry changes, but that we're anticipating them and shaping them. So it's a blend of foresight, agility, and calculated risk-taking to steer the company towards sustainable growth. I think a company's vitality also hinges on its operational agility. And I've learned that when things are going well, these are opportunities to make key investments in changes that will be impactful when times are lean. And conversely, in lean times, these are also opportunities to recalibrate and innovate. And by applying continuous improvement mindsets to all operations, whether it's cash flow management, supply chain logistics, or production workflows, we turn challenges into catalysts for process enhancement and workflow optimization. The goal is always to drive efficiency and reduce waste and also enhance productivity. Ultimately, I think being a great CFO is about not losing sight of the forest for the trees. In finance, it's easy to get caught up in the numbers, but as a CFO, I strive to ensure that each financial decision aligns with our broader business goals and values.
So I totally agree with you, Heather, that it's very important as a CFO to just not not just focus on the numbers, because as a CFO, I think the most important gift or talent that you should have in terms of working with your CEO and the board, right, is to think strategically and create options in different financial scenarios for the company in all aspects of the business. So very much agree with you there. Now shifting a bit, you've had exposure to numerous client companies raising growth capital, and you've worked to close numerous financial transactions or financing transactions, I should say. So tell us what you believe matters most when it comes to successfully financing growth at a company.
I think one of the most critical aspects for businesses growing quickly is securing the necessary funding to support growth. And the financing journey begins with understanding your business's unique value proposition and then being able to articulate it to potential investors. So it's not just about the numbers, it's about the story behind the business and its potential. I think a strong CFO is an essential partner to the CEO and board in helping to craft the story for investors, using a robust financial model with a clear business plan, and then being armed to address any concerns or questions from investors. So when I present to the board, investors, bankers, or even internal teams, I'm telling the story of our company's journey, its challenges, its triumphs, and its aspirations. The numbers support the story, showing where we've been, where we are, and where we're headed. A CFO should always craft the story based on the audience. So for the board, this might mean highlighting the financial outcomes that track against the strategic initiatives. And for investors, it's about crafting a narrative of growth potential and financial stewardship. And for employees, the story is always about their contribution to the success and how it translates into the collective progress of the company. So it's about clarity, connection, and inspiring action, whether it's driving home the value of a new strategic initiative to skeptical stakeholders or rallying the teams around cost-saving measures. The financial story should always elucidate and motivate. And here's an illustrative example of what I'm talking about. At a CPG company I work for, we had a great product and we were in a hyper-growth phase of development, but we had a business model that wasn't typical for the industry, and especially for a business of our size. So while we had great financial results year over year, potential investors and bankers just didn't know how to fit our business into their standard models in order to assess the risk and make the decision to invest in us. This was an example of where Just being able to help articulate the company's story was essential to the success of our financial initiatives, as was my own personal reputation for competence and integrity. In the end, we were able to close a large debt facility with some major banks to better position us to scale the business.
That's great. And I think I remember which company that you had worked with there. So all good. I know, Heather, you were instrumental in conducting due diligence and the audits when we were going through the acquisition of Hotel Tonight by Airbnb. I also know that you're a big, big champion of operations reviews, building better business processes, and strong internal controls at a company. So tell us why, from your perspective, these are so important.
Sure. So I think due diligence and audits are not just compliance activities. In my view, I think they're opportunities to improve business operations and financial health. Over the course of my career, I've sometimes seen leadership teams view these due diligence activities as a nuisance to be avoided or circumvented. And I think that's really short-sighted. It's essential to approach these processes proactively, with a focus on identifying areas for improvement and implementing best practices. It's like the old adage, a stitch in time saves nine. Identifying issues or gaps and addressing them on a timely basis, I think really pays off in the long term. Operations reviews and strong internal controls are also critical for maintaining the integrity of your financial information and ensuring the operational efficiency of a business. Regularly reviewing and updating operating processes can help mitigate risks and enhance business performance. So for example, at Hotel Tonight, we took advantage of lessons learned from prior audits and then closed each period by performing mini audits of our key balances internally. And as a result, we were always audit ready. And even while we were working on due diligence for the acquisition, we were able to provide complete and accurate data to the diligence team, all without delaying our external audit timelines. I think it's the cyclical process of reviewing, implementing, and reviewing again, which allows a company to adapt and grow successfully within a changing business landscape.
And I would agree with you. I remember the really fine work you did at Hotel Tonight, and that you blended strong financial processes seamlessly into the operations of the business, both at Hotel Tonight and also, Heather, at Rodan and Fields. And that was really quite impressive. So kudos to you. So let's pivot again and let's move on to what you're actually doing now for FLG, both in terms of your role as administrative officer and CFO of the firm, as well as some of the work you do with operating companies as their individual CFO. So tell us a little bit about your work at FLG and what that encompasses.
Sure. My role at FLG as administrative partner encompasses both CFO and COO responsibilities. So as CFO, I work with the managing partner to set financial goals and design the roadmap to achieve them. I'm also responsible for internal and external reporting, developing and fine-tuning the company's financial strategy, including assessing risks and investments. And in addition, I oversee contract negotiation and administration and the company's tax planning to ensure compliance with tax laws and regulations. As FLG's AP, I'm responsible for the company's day-to-day administrative and operational functions, including managing the daily operations of the company and implementing the business strategies developed by the MP and the management committee. I'm the right-hand person to the MP.
Absolutely. I can attest to that.
My role also includes people management. We're a company of 30 plus CFOs, all type A personalities with impressive professional backgrounds. And I work with them all to ensure alignment with the company's goals and to ensure that operations are running smoothly. So this includes quality control, ensuring that the services we provide meet both FLG's high client service standards and our customers' expectations. And finally, I do quite a bit of business development work, working with the MP to promote the FLG brand and to identify and qualify leads for our services.
I think you're doing a great job at FLG, and so grateful that you've joined us, and the work that you've done to help me as the managing partner over the last 2 years grow and manage the business has been outstanding, because our numbers speak for themselves. And FLG has been really doing terrifically, even in a period of, I wouldn't say stagnant economic growth, but definitely a different layer of economic recovery, so to speak, than we saw a few years ago. So now let's move on to another topic, which is operating company integrations and partnership negotiations. I know you've done quite a bit of work in these areas. So tell us a little bit about what you've learned as a result of your exposure to company integrations with third parties and partnership negotiations, because I know it's not easy. And how do you maximize your success working with these third parties?
Well, Laureen, I think it's all about alignment. So, for example, when Hotel Tonight was acquired by Airbnb, in addition to providing data needed by the M&A diligence team, one of my key concerns in my purview was around integrating the finance and trust and safety teams into the parent company's organization. Of course, Airbnb was a much larger operation with many layers, while we at Hotel Tonight were much smaller and a lot more agile. The systems we used were different, and even the business models were different. So this required us to really look at how we operated and what changes needed to be made to make the transition seamless. I'm really proud to say that the integration, which was expected to take 18 to 24 months, was complete in less than a year.
Yeah, you did a great job on that.
Yeah. And then during partnership and third-party negotiations, I think understanding the motivations and objectives of all the parties involved is so crucial for a CFO. I found that building relationships based on trust and mutual benefit can lead to more favorable terms and successful long-term collaborations. I think a lot of the CFO's job is also about managing risk. I think
Totally.
yeah.
Totally.
There are many times when negotiating a contract really comes down to knowing the nice to haves versus deal breakers, and then compromising where possible. And when you've been doing this for a while, you get to start to recognize red flags in negotiations phases that can really save your company a lot of heartburn down the road.
Totally. We talk about this a lot, right?
Yeah.
As you negotiate contracts for us, and there's always sticky positions, right? And it comes down to, do we really, really need this in the contract? And you do a great job with that. So thank you. So as a financial executive, I know, Heather, that you have a strong focus on performance management when it comes to financial reporting, right? Presenting the so whats, the why we shouldn't do this, or the key takeaways for company stakeholders. So tell us your keys to success here.
I believe effective performance management and accurate financial reporting are the backbones of strategic decision-making. The right metrics are important tools that enable teams to navigate the complexities of today's business landscape and drive a company towards its strategic goals. In my role, I like to use a balanced scorecard, which evaluates performance across financial, customer, process, and people perspectives. I use an iterative approach, which involves constant calibration. This starts with setting clear, measurable goals that are understood across the organization. So my team collects and analyzes data and KPI metrics continuously, and not just at quarterly or annual reviews, so that we can create real-time feedback loops. So while traditional financial indicators provide a snapshot of our fiscal health and remain foundational, it's crucial to dive deeper into the drivers behind the numbers, like unit economics, customer lifetime value, and churn rates, to truly understand the story they're telling. So my scorecard includes these metrics: customer-focused metrics such as Net Promoter Score, customer retention rates, and acquisition costs. Operational metrics, including efficiency ratios, cycle times, and quality indicators, and people metrics such as employment engagement scores, turnover rates, and talent development indices. And to ensure that these metrics are actionable, I like to integrate performance data into daily operations using dashboards and reporting systems that provide visibility at all levels of the organization. This transparency, I believe, is critical for accountability, and it empowers our teams to make data-driven decisions.
So, great information that you just provided, and thanks for putting that together for the audience, the specific metrics and scorecard that works for you in the different businesses that you have been a CFO or VP finance in. So thank you for that. Now let's completely change gears and let's talk about my favorite subject, which is the softer side of being a CFO. And that is building and motivating teams, instilling the right culture, and modeling leadership. So tell me, Heather, what are your best practices for managing these?
Laureen, as you know, I think the real foundation of any successful organization is its people. So creating a culture of excellence, accountability, and continuous improvement starts with leadership.
Mm-hmm.
As a CFO, I'm both a leader and a mentor, setting the tone for an inclusive environment where every individual is recognized for their unique contributions and is empowered to reach their full potential. I think by acknowledging achievements and instilling a sense of collective purpose, we cultivate teams that are resilient, high-performing, and deeply invested in our shared success. For example, during my tenure at a clean energy firm, I encountered the challenge of dismantling information silos and enhancing synergies amongst cross-functional teams. Guiding teams to a shared understanding of the why behind the data sharing with finance was instrumental. So I began with a listening tour. This is a practice I carry into every role, meeting with cross-functional team leaders to
Mm-hmm.
understand their needs and their perspectives. By integrating team members into strategic discussions, we clarified the overarching objectives of our company, aligning their efforts with our collective mission. I championed the idea of teams presenting their achievements in leadership forums, thereby not only providing visibility, but also fostering a culture where mentorship is a shared responsibility. I think in every initiative, from streamlining processes to encouraging innovative thinking, mentorship remains the cornerstone of my approach. It's about guiding, inspiring, and supporting each team member, enabling them to make impactful contributions, and in turn, they advance the company's mission and vision.
The thing that I think that you said was so important to CFOs, because oftentimes they don't do that, is when you become a CFO or you're coming into a new role, a listening tour is so important, particularly what your peers. You should already know what your your CEO needs. You will be the person, right, who instills what you learn to your subordinates. But your peer group is essential for buy-in, right? And a listening tour is so important. So I hope the audience takes this little nut of wisdom away with them today. If you're starting a new CFO job, listen to your peers, see what they have to say, and work collaboratively with them, because otherwise you don't get buy-in, right, Heather?
That's right.
Totally.
That's exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Switching topics yet again, tell us about your best experience working with a CEO and why. What was the relationship like? What did you learn from it?
I would say the best experience I've had working with a CEO was my very first female CEO. So she wasn't the founder of the company, but she really believed in the product and she was invested in the long-term success of the company. She was quite brilliant in her own right and was willing to take uncharted paths. She worked tirelessly and she understood the entire operation. She surrounded herself with an excellent leadership team and she relied on them to deliver against the plan. What I learned from her was that companies need different leaders at different stages. While what works at a scrappy, hypergrowth startup, it just doesn't always work for a large, mature company. And one quality that I think is imperative for a CEO of any size company is the desire to deliver long-term value for stakeholders and shareholders.
Could not agree with you more. And number one, what works at an early stage company doesn't necessarily work at a late stage company regarding the CEO and his or her competencies. And I think it takes a strong board and a good CEO to know when, I hate to use the term, the jig is kind of up, in the sense that they really need to move out and bring on somebody who can handle the company and its needs at a new time. And then number two, something that you said was very, very important, is that a CEO, whether it's a early stage company, late stage, public company, always needs to be laser focused on long-term value. Absolutely. Totally agree. Now let's flip to the same question, but we'll flip it out, which is, what's your worst experience working with a CEO? And then what happened? And more importantly, how did you handle it?
Okay. So my tenure with a particular CEO taught me some invaluable lessons about integrity and the delicate balance of interests between management and investors. So this company was facing a challenging situation where investors that were deeply involved in management had made some accounting decisions that had deferred certain product costs on the P&L. This action led to an inevitable clash with bank debt covenants once those delayed costs surfaced later. The CEO just didn't know how to contend with the pressure he was under from the investors, and this left the responsibility to me. And it became a profound lesson in the critical nature of standing firm under pressure. It was through this experience that I learned the crucial role finance leaders play in upholding the truth about the numbers, especially when faced with pushback from powerful figures. CEOs and investors sometimes hold on to a narrative that just doesn't align with the operational realities, and they are pressing for adjustments that suit their expectations rather than what the reality is. So my duty was to maintain the integrity of our financial reporting, even if that meant delivering news that was less than favorable. This difficult period underscored for me that negative results should not be feared, and transparency, no matter how uncomfortable, lays the groundwork for genuine progress and trust.
You know, I'm familiar with that experience that you just spoke about, and I could not agree with you more, Heather, in terms of some of the issues that you were dealing with and the fact that negative results should not be feared. And you need to be as transparent as you can as a CFO, always when working with your CEO and a board, even when the CEO is less than comfortable, right? With
Yes.
that transparency. Totally, totally get it. So we have one last question for you, Heather, and that is as we move into 2024 and beyond. So what areas interest you the most in terms of future FLG work?
Well, Laureen, my ideal engagement with an operating company involves collaborating with high growth companies that have reached or exceeded 200 million in revenue and are at a strategic inflection point. Here, my acumen in diagnosing and untangling complex operational issues can best be leveraged. I'm passionate about identifying and implementing necessary changes to streamline processes, enhance financial systems, and enable data-driven decision-making. At the heart of my professional drive is the opportunity to make a substantial impact. I thrive in high-pressure environments where I can leverage my extensive experience and knowledge to not just contribute, but fundamentally transform the financial and operational framework of a company. It's in these settings that I found the opportunity to deliver the most value, orchestrating a turnaround, driving a period of rapid growth, or guiding a strategic pivot that repositions a company for future success.
You know, I think you're going to be able to leverage, Heather, all of those skills with FLG client assignments across sectors. And, you know, I know you're going to have a big career with us, and I'm just delighted about that. So thank you to Heather and to our audience for listening to the perspectives that Heather has shared with us today as a very experienced CFO. And I hope you enjoyed our conversation. And stay tuned, everyone, for more CFO Insight interviews, fireside chats, and virtual roundtables as we move forward into the second half of 2024. Thank you for joining us today. Bye now.